seems like money is a taboo subject that we talk about in the church, and we use money every day. So open your mind that God wants for you. So he asked the question, how would Jesus invest? We're breaking the poor man's mentality. The poor man's mentality. How would Jesus invest? We're breaking the poor man's mentality. The poor man's mentality.
Well, hello. I am Gayle Gilmore, and welcome to How Would Jesus Invest? My mission each week is to share about that taboo subject and often dirty words in the church: money, finances, prosperity, and wealth. But I'm glad that you are joining me today. And I want to remind you, if you've not seen How Would Jesus Invest or other programs and sharings on this Gem Nugget channel, I am asking you to subscribe to this Gem Nugget channel. Share, like, chat. We are now at 25,000 subscribers. But I'm glad that you're joining me. And I want to thank you for joining me for this special edition of How Would Jesus Invest. Please let me know that you are watching by typing in the chat, and let me know where you are watching from. Well, let me tell you a little bit about myself. I am the author of the award-winning book that this program is named after, How Would Jesus Invest? Breaking the Poor Man's Mentality. This book won the Christian Choice Book Award back in 2011 in the area of finance, because I contend that, as Hosea 4:6, that my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge, especially when it comes to the area of money and finances. Although the Bible says more and has more verses, really 2,084 verses, more than even faith and salvation. I have also written other books, and one other book we're really going to talk about in detail tonight, but I have written 4 books along with a play. It Can't Be Boring, a Christian youth program for difficult times. Only by the Grace of God, and I'm going to be saying more about that book in just a minute. Of course, How Would Jesus Invest? Breaking the Poor Man's Mentality, and Miracles of the Exchange, Intentional Blessings. I also wrote a play called The Last Laugh, and that play was performed at many venues in this area, including the Chrysler Museum Theater in Norfolk, Virginia. And any of these books, you can order the books or my DVD at graceandtwineministries.com. Well, I also want to let you know that I have been married to this handsome fellow right here. He is my husband of 42 years, and he is the founder and pastor of Grace and Twine Ministries, James E. Gilmore Sr., and I serve as co-pastor. And if you are ever in the Hampton Roads area, we invite you to come and visit us at Grace and Twine Ministries. We are located at 3923 Deep Creek Boulevard in the beautiful city of Portsmouth, Virginia. Again, my husband is the founding pastor, Pastor James E. Gilmore Sr. We have worship service every Sunday at 10 a.m. because you know what? You will find real love at the gym. But again, I am so glad that you are joining me this evening. You know, I have been doing How Would Jesus Invest? Been doing this sharing since September of 2023. And I took a little break in September, but we are back. And you know, the month of October, there are two special events or types of awareness that we celebrate in the month of October. Of course, we know that this is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And I'm sure that many of you have been affected by someone that has had breast cancer. You may be a survivor yourself. To God be the glory. You may know somebody, someone dear to you, that has passed away from breast cancer, as myself. My dear mother, Grandma Annie, to my children, passed away in 1996 from breast cancer at the age of 84. And by the time we found out, she only had 3 months to live. But we know now, breast cancer, the incidents have gone down because of people getting mammograms, women getting mammograms, early detection, and things like that. And of course, we hope and pray that there one day will be a cure for cancer. The other recognition that we recognize this month is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. October is also Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And this event is very close and dear to my heart because of a friend of mine named Sharon Dixon. Sharon Dixon, I met many years ago through a ministry, and she was a victim of domestic violence. And I grew to love her, and we became such close friends that when she shared her story with me, I was compelled to write her story in the book only by the grace of God. And if you get that book, you'll see how that came about. But right now, I wanted to show you a clip from, she passed away in 2008. But after I wrote her book, we went around and we shared her story, and her goal was to help, if it was at least one person, to not have to go through domestic violence. And I'm sure that through the sharings, there were people that were saved from going through the things that she went through. But what I want to do now, that's why I have all this purple on. For breast cancer, it is pink. And for Domestic Violence Awareness Month, I got on all of my purple. So in memory of my dear friend, Sharon. But I want to share this clip that tells a little bit more.
Sharon Dixon was shot by her abuser and lived to tell her story in a book. We featured her journey in 2006, and sadly, this update is not good news. Barbara Sierra's in the newsroom with a story you will see only on 3.
Every 9 seconds a woman is battered here in the United States, and 33 years ago, Sharon Dixon became one of them. She's been hospitalized over the past 4 weeks. The gunshot that paralyzed her years ago has created a new set of health problems, and now a strong local voice against domestic violence is temporarily silent. She was so brave when she told us her story back in 2006. The gunshot that changed her young life.
The gun went off, and it went through my nipple, and it came out in my back.
She recalled how her husband became even more abusive after she was confined to a wheelchair.
He got angry with me, so he slapped me out of the wheelchair onto the floor.
Sharon told her story to Gayle Gilmore, who put her words into print. The book is titled, Only by the Grace of God. Each book signing encouraged women in Hampton Roads to fight back against domestic abuse. Mary Alice Good told me Sharon's words changed lives when she spoke before her women's ministry.
And
women right in the church who are going through these things, and they're just not talked about.
Gayle, Sharon's friend and author, visits Sharon every week in the hospital.
I believe that she would want everybody to know.
She feels if Sharon can't speak, others will speak for her against domestic violence.
She's forgiven. She's turned negatives into positives, but there still can be lingering consequences, and hers is physical.
Sharon was scheduled to do another book signing next month, as she has in the past. Mary Good's ministry pledges to tell her story, even if she can't be there to tell it herself.
Because she really is someone that everybody needs to know about, women especially, and everywhere.
Sharon left her husband after years of abuse, and 1 week later, he was killed in a gambling dispute. Sharon's story and book will be featured at an event sponsored.
Oh, yes. And sadly, Sharon did not get to do that last book signing. But I always vowed, ever since 2008, that I would not let her story die. So that's why every October, I want to make sure that that story is told. And I want to share, and I won't be that long with you today for How Would Jesus Invest? But you know, the domestic violence, it affects not just the physical being, not just emotionally, but it also affects economics. It affects us economically, our whole nation. As you heard in the clip, and as we did the research, we know that every 9 seconds, a woman is battered in the United States. 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000, 7,000, 8,000, 9,000. At the end of that 9,000, another woman was battered in the United States. Now, think about that. Think about that. And the thing that we know, that domestic violence is 100% preventable. Now, in contrast to breast cancer, we're still trying to, I've even heard on the news some things that could prevent people from getting cancer. But one thing we know about domestic violence, that it is 100% preventable. And one of the things that could help is to be educated more about the red flags, some of the things that we can see. And that was what was happening when Sharon and I would go around and do these book signings and so forth, because it was more of education. And what we did is that the sales from the books, we would donate a portion to the Her Shelter. The Her Shelter Help Emergency Response was one of the shelters that Sharon used in the time of her need, in times that she had to get away. And so we always did that. And I'm going to share at the end of this sharing how you can order the book, because I want to continue to do that each year. Some years I didn't have any book sales, so it wasn't anything to donate to the Her Shelter. And then some years there were. And, I had and I still do, I really want to make a movie of her story. But in any case, I'm going to share more information, because we do need, I want to go back here to invest in domestic violence prevention. And also, the Her Shelters and many of the shelters, they can use those finances to help those that find themselves victims and that need shelter and food, because it doesn't just affect the person, but it affects the children, it affects our economy, it just affects everything. And I want to talk about the economic piece just shortly here, because like I said, again, domestic violence is 100%. It is preventable. It is preventable. And doing research again, and according to domesticshelters.org, domestic violence also it was talking about the physical and emotional impact. But as I just mentioned, domestic violence also has an enormous impact, from increased healthcare costs to workplace issues such as safety and productivity. And I just want to share a few statistics as how it affects our economics, especially in the United States. You know, we're getting ready to elect someone as president, and, you know, healthcare. Now, healthcare hasn't been a big issue this time, but we know in the back of our minds, healthcare is a big concern. And the economy, we know the economy is a big issue, especially especially with our election coming up. So I just want to share just a few statistics from domesticshelters.org. So this is a group of shelters, and they have collected this information, especially from those victims that have come into the shelter. I just want you to consider these statistics. The cost of intimate partner violence exceeds $5.8 billion each year, 4.1 billion of which is for medical and mental health services. There's so much I wanted to put up here from the information from domesticshelters.org, but I want to share this because the cost comes in because it was talking about the number of visits that occur when domestic violence happens. So when I give you these numbers, these are visits. 21.1 visits for physical therapy visits. You know, a person gets hurt and maybe they can't walk, or they're affected in physical ways. 21.1 physical therapy visits. 5.7 nights in the hospital. You know, that adds up. 4.4. I thought this was interesting. 4.4 visits for dental visits. Oh my goodness. You can imagine why they would have to go to the dentist in a domestic violence situation. 3.2 physician visits. 3.1 outpatient visits, 1.9 emergency room visits, and 1.1 paramedic visits. You see how that all adds up if you put that all together. And then victims of intimate partner violence. They use intimate partner because we know it's usually a boyfriend, a husband, a spouse, or somebody that commits this. And of course, we know most of the victims are women, like 93%. There are a few men, but we know that the majority are women. But victims of intimate partner violence lost almost 8 million days of paid work. This loss is equivalent of more than 32,000 full-time jobs, almost 5.6 million days of household productivity. Let's think, those are some big numbers. And that's just in the United States because of the violence that was perpetrated against those victims. And then research indicates that 50% of battered women who are employed are harassed, even if they are able to go to work. They are harassed at work by their abusive partners. And 64% of victims of domestic violence indicated that their ability to work was affected by violence. I have a chart here. I couldn't put it up here, but among the key causes for their decline, this is even if they are able to work, these were the things that happened. 57% were distracted. 45% fear of discovery. Sometimes, even if some women can get away and they still have to work, and sometimes their abusers track them down and things, even at work. Harassment by intimate partner at work, either by phone or in person, that was 40%. Fear of intimate partners, unexpected visits, 34%. This is the emotional thing, that they would get distracted where they cannot produce even when they're on the job. Inability to complete assignments on time, 24%. And last of all, 21%, they end up losing their jobs behind harassment of their abusers. So, there's so many statistics, but I thought that these were statistics that we really need to be aware of, because like I said, it doesn't just affect emotion physically. We know the physical part and we know the emotional part, but the economic part, that is the other part. My verse I always use on how would Jesus invest, like 3 John, second verse, beloved, above all things, I wish you would prosper, be in health, even as your soul prospers. So when we talk about domestic violence, it affects really all areas of life. But again, as we say, it is 100% preventable. And what we need to do is to invest. We need to invest in this prevention. And I'm just asking you and just requesting this of you during this month of October, that you would, one of the ways, and like I said, I wanted to keep this going even after Sharon had passed away, each year, especially in the month of October. I would love for you to get your hands on a copy of her book, Only by the Grace of God. And always with this book, and you probably noticed it in the clip, there was a little pamphlet that the Her Shelter provided, and I still include it in this book, because one of the things, and this was a powerful little pamphlet, because one of the things on here, it gives you some questions. This questionnaire was just so important, and things that you could do. And what it says at the top, it says it shouldn't hurt to be a woman. And it says if you answer yes to several of the following questions, chances are you need some support and help. And there were many instances when we did the workshops, when we shared this information, many women thought about it. We used to do radio programs and people would call in. We did local TV shows. We traveled up and down the East Coast, even down to Florida at one point. But these questions, and I'm not going to read them all, but if you have to say yes to any of these questions, you may need to seek some help. Has your partner ever hit, slapped, punched, bit, shoved, cut, choked, burnt, or spit on you? And I want you to understand the thing about domestic violence, it's about power. It's about power. It's not about love or jealousy or sex or this. The main reason is power. This person wants to have power over you, power over your body, power over your power over your money, power over all of these different areas of your life. And let me just read a few more. Has your partner thrown objects at you? Has your partner restrained you against your will? Has your partner ever insulted and humiliated you or called you names? We used to hear some women say, well, he does that because he loves me. No, 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 no. He's just playing. No, 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 no. If that happens too many times, that is something else. Has your partner stopped you from seeing your family and friends? Has your partner destroyed your property or other personal items? Has your partner forced you into unwanted sexual acts? Has your partner withheld affection to punish you? Has your partner ever lied or made promises to control you? Here we go again. It's about power and control. Has your partner restricted your access to money? One of the things, and if you get Sharon's book, you know, I want you to get the book because I want you to read her story, because one of the reasons that she could not get away earlier because of the lack of finances. After she was disabled, she was in the wheelchair, of course. And the thing that I can just tell you one thing, that every time she shared this part, you know, I would kind of cringe because I knew the reaction of the people. What had happened after she was shot and was in the wheelchair, there was a time that she didn't quite know. She had not married her abuser at this time. They were going together, but she felt something wasn't quite right, and she wanted to break it off. And then he did what he did. And I'm like, you got to get the book. I'm not going to tell y'all everything. But what happened when she was in the wheelchair and she went through all of these things, she married her abuser. And, you know, every time we did these sharings, I know people were like, why did you marry him? But unless you are in a person's shoes, and I learned more of this as I was sharing these things with Sharon, you don't know what to do in some of these situations. That's why the education is so important. We need to invest in the education for the prevention of some of these situations. And because of that, one statement that I include in the book, because she says she was too scared to stay and she was too scared to leave because of economic reasons, because of fear, because of physical reasons that he might hurt her again. But the economic part of it, you know, she was restricted because she didn't have, you know, the resources, and she had children as well from a previous relationship. But like I said, you need to get this book. And like I said, I always include this little brochure, this has been a lifesaver to a lot of women that we shared this with. So I urge you, and I really would love to request that, especially during this month of October, that you would order a copy of Only by the Grace of God, the story of Sharon Dixon. And you can order that at graceandtwineministries.com, or you can go to the Cash App. It would be $23 for shipping and handling, because on graceandtwineministries.com it's the same price. But if you're going to use the Cash App, I just wanted to let you know what the total cost is. And as I have done before in the past, a portion of the sales during this month of October, I will donate to the Her Shelter, as I have done in the past. This is very important. You know, domestic violence, like I said, it's not something that just happens just around October, just like breast cancer. This is something that's ongoing. But I do invite you again to order your copy of Only by the Grace of God, the story of Sharon Dixon, at graceandtwineministries.com, or the Cash App, Jim Gifts, and the cost is $23. Make sure you include your address and everything so I can make sure to get that out to you. And again, a portion of the sales will be donated to the Her Shelter. You know, I really miss Sharon. Really miss Sharon. Again, she passed away in 2008. And I will always remember. But Lord truly bless her. And it's also a story of victory. I said she went from a victim to a victor, because even after that, she was blessed. There were so many around her that loved her. I know in those last years, when I was still working at school, she would call me about 2 or 3 times a week. And I could hear it in her voice. She would start out by saying, "Can I tell you something?" And I can hear the kind of smile in her voice. And what she was getting ready to tell me is how God blessed her in some type of way, whether it was financial, whether it was physical. Somebody did something special for her. She was a missionary. She did more in that wheelchair than most people did with both of their legs and fully healthy. She led her outreach group, missionary group, outreach group, going out, taking tracts, even in her wheelchair, and so forth. And so many of us just loved her. My good friend, Sister Mary Good, Women in Christ United. I remember where they sponsored a book signing, and she held a spellbound at that book signing at the Barnes and Noble a few years before she passed away. But you really need to get this book. And like I said, I want to include this information about prevention, because a lot of it is about noticing the red flags. A lot of times when we get in romantic and intimate situations, sometimes we overlook those red flags. We sometimes turn a blind eye to it. But there's always something inside that kind of warns you, and you can't ignore that. Even in the book, that's what happened in the beginning in this situation. Sharon knew something was not right in this particular relationship, but unfortunately, when she tried to get out of it, because the words that he said before he did what he did, "If I can't have you, nobody else will." So these are the things that we want to educate, and we need to educate each other, especially as women, because again, I say it again, this is something that is 100% preventable, 100% preventable. So I love you, Sharon. I love you, Sharon. And if we can help at least one person avoid getting into a domestic violence situation, we have done our job. Sharon and I. So thank you for joining me for this special edition of How Would Jesus Invest? Thank you for joining me, and I'll be back next Saturday with another installment. Take care of yourself.
It seems like money is a taboo subject that we talk about in the church, and we use money every day. So open your mind that God wants for you. So he asked the question, how would Jesus invest? We're breaking the poor man's mentality. How would Jesus invest? We're breaking the poor man's mentality.